Hi people, Moino Ravenberg here again as always. In this video I'm going to discuss, just ignore that. In this video I'm going to discuss someone's musical preference and how you can, and basically the spiritual definition behind it or meaning behind it. And simply put, you can deduct for the most part someone's personality based off of the kind of music they listen to or the kind of music they're quote unquote into. One's personality essentially based on musical preference is what I'm getting at. So yeah, let's dive right in. Before I dive right in, so to speak, I do need to point out that I did already discuss this issue, but that was in a live stream. And my live streams back in the day, this was 2 years ago approximately, by default are long. We're talking about hours even, longer than an hour. So this video is more of the watered down, shortly summarized version thereof. So just keep in mind, I'm simply going to discuss how you can tell a lot about someone and their personality, especially on a spiritual level or mental level, based on their musical preference or based off of their musical preference. So yeah, let the diving in commence. I'm simply going to go through the different kinds of music and the so-called personality profile that most of these listeners of said genre have. Let's start with the one that I discussed in the live stream, specifically arguably the most prolific one, rock music. I'm not a fan personally of rock music. I have listened to rock music back in the day, but that's because I was in a bad state of mind, a bad mental state, very toxic and whatnot. So yeah, long story short, most people in the world are familiar with rock music. If you're not familiar with it, then please, if you're not familiar with rock music, please look it up, Google it, you name it, look it up on a search engine. And then, so I'm not going to discuss what the kind of music is like. Okay, people that listen to rock music in general are not. To say that these people aren't level-headed is putting it not even mildly. It's the understatement of the decade. People that listen to rock music, bluntly put, are have severe mental issues, severe psychological issues that stem, in most cases, from either childhood trauma or just overall life trauma. So these people are people that have been through a lot over the course of their life, and it left them scarred, but most of them are young, honestly. These are, generally speaking, people that are no older than 30 years old, no older than 40, sorry. So we're specifically talking about people between the ages of 0 and 40 years old. Not even 40, let's just say going on 40, 35. And you name it, these people, they suffer from all kinds of mundane mental disorders, neurosis, insecurity, you name it. If you are familiar with rock music up to a moderate extent and you're familiar with the lyrical content of rock songs and whatnot, then you can easily tell this is basically music made for people like that, by people like that. So again, people that listen to rock music are people that are mentally ill, but not to the point where they need to be clinically admitted into a psych ward or similar. Well, some of them do in the worst case scenario, but for most of them it doesn't really impede their ability to function in society. But they're definitely not happy people, or they're not people that are content with their overall lives, and they're not people that you would use as a role model for success or for a successful life or quote unquote having it together. So yeah, that's the case with people that listen to rock music. More often than not, these people, for the same reasons I mentioned in relation to mental illness, they engage in self-mutilation or acts of self-mutilation. The most commonly known one is slitting their wrists and cutting themselves using, you name it, small knives, razor blades, you name it. They usually use it on their arms. So if you see someone that has a lot of stuff on their arms and the person looks like insecure, frightened and whatnot, then yeah, usually these kind of people, you know, they look more dark in the sense that they wear hoodies and overalls. They're attracted to the color black, you name it. Bipolarness is another example. Every mundane disorder you can think of where you would say, okay, this person is batshit insane. That's what the average rocker is like, and yeah, that's why they cut themselves. They cut themselves because they're hurting on the inside. They hurt psychologically, and they don't want to. They hurt psychologically, and they don't want to feel that mental pain, that mental anguish. So they cut themselves, and the physical pain that comes from cutting themselves briefly distracts from the mental pain, the mental anguish, the spiritual anguish, the astral anguish. It's the equivalent of taking painkillers, okay, for a serious gash or open wound that you have. It's going to help, but only temporarily and only up to a minor extent. So yeah, that's it. In relation to the trauma they endure, just general life trauma you can think of, whether it's abandonment, whether it's being scolded by a parent, whether it's being the victim of molest or abuse in any way, shape or form. Usually within a household, they generally speaking also come from broken homes. It just goes on. It's all about this being spiritual or mental victims, and that's why lifetimes ago, like I mentioned, I listened to rock music. Of course, that's why I despise rock music nowadays, but not for personal reasons, because I fitted the bill back then. Okay, I was mentally confused. I was down in the dumps. I really just felt horrible. I felt like life had no meaning, etc. I was lost, spiritually lost. But this was, like I said, lifetimes ago. This was so long ago. And I briefly listened to this kind of music, and I associate it with the people that listen to this kind of music. So I know exactly what they're like, and I definitely do not like them.
You have mail.
They're usually also goths. I repeat, goths. So Goths. People that have that gothic look. They like to dress up in black. Women like to wear black lipstick and whatnot. You name it. Okay, most rock bands, you also see them in, again, not this is a generalization. This doesn't apply to literally every person that listens to rock music, or every person that listens to any kind of music that I'm going to discuss. Okay, everything that I'm saying in this video is a generalization. There are exceptions, and like I said, this doesn't apply to every rock band out there, but most of these rock bands also, when you look at their members, they regularly kill themselves, band members. You look at the stupid shit they do, the crazy shit they do, you're like, wow, these guys are they're completely gone mentally. And that is the case, generally speaking. Yeah, so that's it for rock music. Moving on. Heavy metal, my personal favorite. I listened religiously to heavy metal, also lifetimes ago, but I was doing better. Heavy metal, honestly, out of all of them, is my personal favorite, and from a neutral perspective, also the one that does the least damage, so to speak, or has the least amount of negativity attached to it, save for one. Heavy metal, basically, at a spiritual level, people that listen to heavy metal are people that people whose lives, generally speaking, are in a state of chaos, and they have to deal with hardship and whatnot on a regular occasion. Nothing too dramatic, but life is a struggle. Life is a struggle overall. It could be anything, okay? Financial struggles, just mental struggles, everything. And people that listen to heavy metal in general, they can suffer from mundane mental illnesses or mundane disorders, but compared to rock music, or people that listen to rock music, substantially lesser. People that listen to heavy metal in general listen to it because it helps them get through tough times, coupled with other factors. For example, people that have an interest in the occult, you name it. Okay, there are several branches of heavy metal. You've got occult heavy metal, you've got, you name it. It all depends on the lyrical content and the subject matter that's discussed by a band. For example, in my case, obviously as an occultist, back then I already had an interest in the occult, a heavy interest, so I specifically listened to occult black metal. We're talking about bands that the average person has no idea even exists, bands that you'll find in the recesses of Norway, Scandinavia, you name it, Sweden. It just goes on, okay? Northern Europe and Southern Europe primarily, also Eastern Europe, you name it. Those are the kind of bands I listen to, and of course the lyrical content is dark. Usually these artists they discuss spirits, they discuss pagan gods, pagan worship, stuff like that. And of course these things appeal to me, really appeal to me. But primarily I listen to heavy metal to get me through tough times. Heavy metal basically gave me the fuel I needed, okay? That's also why, generally speaking, heavy metal is filled with aggression. Depends on what kind of music you listen to, what kind of subgenre. But the heavy metal that the average person knows and the average person despises in general is the aggressive kind, the kind filled with the demonic screams and the yelling and shit like that. And I listen to that kind of music because it spoke to me, obviously. The music radiated how I felt mentally, okay? I felt aggressive mentally due to all the hardship I had to deal with, and heavy metal simply soothed my soul, so to speak. Heavy metal gave me a pat on the back, and it told me to just keep going, to keep pushing through the pain and keep going and keep going. But it never had any toxic effect on me or radiated heavy toxicity, heavy amounts of toxicity, the way that rock music does. So that's why even when I listened to heavy metal, I did not like rock music, because I know what these kind of people that listen to rock music are like and what rock basically represents, and I really did not like it. So that's it. Heavy metal is basically music for the poor working man, okay? And it basically helps him to get throughout the day in general. Again, this is a generalization, but that's the gist of it overall. So yeah, that's it for heavy metal. Rap, hip hop, and its subgenres. In relation to rap and whatnot, you name it, anything from gangster rap to mediocre hip hop. People that listen to this kind of music in general are people that come from a poor financial background. When the average person that listens to rap usually is focused purely on the materialistic, okay? But most people know that, honestly, okay? If you take a look at the average person that listens to rap music, it's someone that comes from the ghetto, someone that comes from a poor background, specifically financially, and someone that has little to no spiritual affinity. People that listen to rap music are usually people that only focus on the material. And by no coincidence, of course, the majority of people, as far as I know, that listen to rap music are black people. They're ethnically African. For example, African Americans and whatnot, you name it. But that's also depicted in the artist pool, essentially. The majority of artists that create this kind of music are Africans or of African descent, better said. Not literally Africans, but let's just say they're black in any case, ethnically. So yeah, people that generally speaking listen to this kind of music. Similar to the artists, if you just listen to them, you'll hear what the artists discuss. They discuss things such as money, focusing on money, acquiring money by any means necessary, including the illegal or resorting to illegal means of doing so, for example, drug smuggling, anything. Gun violence, glorifying violence overall towards your fellow man. It just goes on and on and on, you know, demeaning women, using women as sex objects and or sex slaves, stuff like that, honestly. You'll find this easily in gangster rap, for example, where the artists see themselves as quote-unquote gangsters, and they simply glorify this kind of despicable behavior. I'm not bashing on rap or anything like that. Every kind of music, honestly, more or less has its negative connotations, but with rap music, it's definitely noticeable. I know because as a kid I listened to rap music, so I know what rap artists sing about in general. They sing about money, having a lot of bitches, smacking these so-called bitches, being a pimp, calling women hoes, of course short for whores, and anything else you can think of, honestly. And I've seen the average person that listens to rap music. The average person that listens to rap music is some kid living in the ghetto, struggling to make ends meet, hence only caring about money or focusing on money, and having little to no intellectual faculty whatsoever, It just goes on. That's the textbook, that's textbook rap follower. And again, you can tell. Just look at the artists, and the concept of music made for people like that, by people like that, applies here. The same way that it applies all across the board. Rappers are usually people that come from a poor background, single thingy family. Dad left the house when mom was pregnant or shortly after they were born. They had little to nothing in the way of a good upbringing. Life was a daily struggle for the family as a whole, and it just goes on and on and on. They mingle with the wrong crowd. They hang out with the wrong kind of people, and they end up in a criminal world filled with nothing but uncertainty and backstabbery and you name it, and just overall general toxicity. And they either end up in prison, or they have to keep watching their back for either rival gangs because they need a gang, or they get shot by a rival gang, or they commit a crime and police apprehends them, or police kills them, or something similar. Yeah, that's what the average rapper more or less looks like at its extremest. Okay. Best case scenario is that it's just a rapper that sings completely clean rap, the way that Will Smith sang clean rap. And Will Smith is a good role model, but like I said, Will Smith is an exception. The average rapper still sings about the things that I mentioned, or still sings about the aforementioned. So the things that I mentioned earlier. And that's what the average person looks like that has an interest in rap. So yeah, that's the so-called spiritual profile of rap. And let me see, I've covered rock music, heavy metal, rap, house music, trance, dance, electronic. This kind of music, honestly, it's two-pronged, even more so than the others, in the sense that you've got a good variety and a bad variety. I'm going to discuss the bad variety first. People that listen to house music and so on, I'm going to refer to it as trash, because you've got trash house music and overall crappy music. These are people that that focus also only on the material, but in a different way than followers of rap or people that listen to rap music. They're usually people that don't necessarily come from a bad or negative background, but they're people that they like to engage in toxic substances. We're talking about swallowing drugs, using recreational drugs like ecstasy, you name it, marijuana, you name it. Not necessarily so much weed, but generally stuff that makes you high, as in to the point where you're barely self-aware and whatnot. And these people like going out to clubs, the whole rave culture. They like to listen to music that I refer to as trash house, music that has little to nothing in the way of substance, and it's just one constant beat, because they're simply high and they simply want to dance to something, they simply want to move, as in just the stereotypical just think of some German nightclub where people are half naked or wearing some kind of or are wearing very little to nothing in the way of S&M, so sadism and masochism outfits. That's what you can expect, and obviously it does more harm than good, honestly, because these kind of people are not people that have their act together. They're people that usually leech off of others. They possess thingy mentalities. Just think of the average slut that will give herself away for a shot of, for a whiff of cocaine or anything that you could sniff, basically. That will give a guy a blowjob, for example, just for a whiff of cocaine. When you take a look at that person, for example, that so-called slut, little to nothing in the way of morals, will not hesitate to steal or something, will not go that far, but she'll do it if the opportunity presents itself. Generally speaking, coherent, okay, as in aware or in keeping or in tune with the rest of the world, not mentally gone or mentally ill, but still not someone that you would consider a role model. Those are kind of people, those are the kind of people or kinds of people that listen to quote unquote trash house and dance and techno and electronic. And then you've got the good variety, the variety that I listen to. I don't actively listen to music. I have music at certain times that I play in the background, But the music I listen to, honestly, I primarily is house, but I started listening to it 3 years ago, okay? And it has to do with your state of mind. When you find yourself in an exalted state of mind, you've got your act together, you know, life is great, you feel great, you're super healthy mentally, so spiritually overall, then you listen to this kind of music. This kind of music automatically appeals to you. And this is, you know, the normal house and techno and electronic music that makes you feel good. It's basically feel good music. When you listen to that music, you can tell, hey, this is a nice beat, you know, this is good, it's nice and relaxing. It's happy music. Where if you hypothetically close your eyes and listen to this kind of music, then you'll see yourself on a beach, you'll see yourself surrounded by beautiful nature, beautiful oceans and whatnot. You'll see an environment that radiates contentment, it radiates euphoria. That's what I'm talking about and referring to. That's the kind of music I listen to now. So yeah, that's the good variety essentially. That's actually house music or dance or electronic or techno. It's not trash, the trash variety thereof. So yeah, that's it. And last but not least, I'm gonna close off with reggae. Let me know in the comment section if I missed something, but I'm gonna close off with reggae music. Reggae music is a mixture of the both aforementioned genres. It's like a fusion of rap and house, but it's a mixture in terms of good or bad. People that listen to reggae music in general are honestly a variety of people. I mean, I could also just play reggae music in the background and I don't mind. But people that seriously listen to that kind of music primarily are also usually ethnically African, so black people in general, and they listen to reggae music because they're more people that aren't, they're laid back kind of people. They're not people that want a headache, or they're not fond of negativity. They're people that just want to sit back and not do anything and smoke a blunt. That's literally what reggae is about, honestly, and that's also what a lot of reggae artists sing about. And most of them also come from that background / culture. They simply, for them, life is just about hanging out, chilling out, and not doing anything or doing as little as possible, and quote unquote taking it easy. A whole ultra laid back approach to life is what these people, as well as the artists, what they're all about, okay? And that's the ideology, the so-called ideology that they embody. And yeah, that's all. For the rest, there's nothing else to say about reggae music. Again, most of you that are watching this are more or less already aware of everything I've discussed in this video. But this is simply an in-depth analysis. And some of the details I mentioned, one or two of you might have not been aware of this, or even the majority of you might have not been aware of this. But that's it in any case. Again, let me know what you think. If you have any thoughts on the matter in the comment section, and see you guys later. Bye. Ciao.